Okay, so we have already covered the basic instruction and how to practice satipatthana. Okay? So by now, if you have been listening attentively and properly to all our discussion in the past talks, by now you should already understand clearly and correctly what does the Buddha mean when he said one dwells contemplating body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, overcoming covetousness and grief with regards to the world. Yeah. So basically, it is the method of Vipassana, as we have repeated again and again. Satipatthana, basic method means Vipassana. That means relentless, continuous noting of the four objects. Satipatthana, the body, feeling, consciousness, and the Dhammas. Okay? Or basically, Nama Rupa. Okay? So this practice is simply about relentlessly and continuously noting the mental, physical nature arising in our experience. Okay? Noting it continuously, moment after moment after moment after moment, without a break. Okay? And each moment when you note, to make sure that the noting is precise, that noting falls exactly on the object that is noted. Okay? So if you are noting rising, the noting mind must fall exactly on the rising. If noting falling, the noting mind must fall exactly on the falling. If you note tightness, the noting mind must fall exactly on tightness. You note stiffness, it must fall exactly on stiffness. If you note the knowing of stiffness, then the noting mind must fall exactly on the knowing. Okay, so whatever object, whatever physical or mental nature that is noted, the mind must fall precisely on that object or that nature that is being noted. So precise means the noting mind is completely with the object, 100% with the object. So that means it's not that you are noting here rising, falling, you are noting, but at the same time at the side you are noting the pain. So that means you are not 100% on the object. If you are not 100%, then you are not precise. The noting mind is not precisely on the object, not exactly on the object. Okay? So precisely means you are completely with the object. Okay? That means wholehearted noting, wholehearted attention on the object that you are noting. Okay? Precisely also means when you note, you must note in the moment when the object or the experience or the nature is occurring, when it is present. Okay? And not before it arises. Okay? If you try to note it before it arises, it's not there yet. That means you are anticipating. So where is it? Where is it? When is it going to arise? Like some yogis, where is the intention? Why no intention? I stand so long already. So that's anticipating. That is not meditating. That is not noting. Okay. So, and also not after object has disappeared. Okay, so then you, after it has disappeared, then only, oh, what was that? How was that? Why was that? Then you are analyzing the past experience. Okay? So when you note, you must note precisely in the moment when the object is occurring, when it is present. Not before or after. Not before when it has not arisen yet, not after when it has already disappeared. Okay? So at the moment of presence, okay, of the object. Yeah, so not precisely. Noting mind completely with the object in the moment when it is occurring, when it is present. So the basic method is anupassana, to note continuously, note precisely. Okay. That means, and when we say to note, note means to know or to be aware precisely and clearly of the object that you are noting. So, example, when rising occur, then to note means to know the rising precisely and clearly. That means you direct your attention, awareness precisely on the rising, and then make effort to experience the rising clearly. Okay? So note the rising, know it precisely, know it clearly. So when falling occur also, you know it precisely, know it clearly. Sitting occur, know it precisely, know it clearly. Touching, tightness, tension, pressure, knowing, feeling, whatever nature arises, know it precisely, clearly. Direct the precise attention on the nature, on the object, and then make effort to experience it clearly. Okay. So simply know it precisely and clearly in the moment, whatever nature arises. Okay. So in this way, anupassana, you know one object after another, one nature after another, moment after moment after moment. You note in this way. Okay? Anupassana. So in this way, the yogi comes to know one nature after another, and as this continuous noting is allowed to carry on continuously without any interruption, through diligent effort, through ardent effort. So the noting mind will then get clearer and clearer and clearer in discerning the nature of the object. Okay? So this goes back to the simile that we mentioned last time, polishing the mirror. So you have a mirror full of dust, full of stain. You want to see your reflection on the mirror. Because so much dust and stain, it doesn't reflect well. Okay? So first you must polish, clean the mirror. So you take a piece of cloth, you polish it, you wipe. You wipe it one time, you remove a little dust, a little stain, then you look at the mirror, so a little bit of image start to reflect, but still not clear yet. So you have to continue polishing, wiping again and again and again. Each time you remove a little dust, a little stain, until finally all the dust, all the stain remove. Then you see your image reflect clearly on the mirror. Same with the mind. As you keep making effort to note continuously, moment after moment after moment. So with the development of the noting mind, especially the clarity of mind. So the mind gets clearer and clearer and clearer. The nature of the object starts to reflect more and more clearly in the mind. But in order for the noting mind to become clearer and clearer with the practice, as you develop your practice. So in order for it to become clearer and clearer, when you note the object, you cannot simply just note casually, superficially. So every time you note, you need to exert the mind. Exert the mind. Every moment when you note, you need to exert the mind. You need to put effort and energy into the noting mind. And this is what Buddha meant, atapi, ardent, energetic effort. One must be ardent when we note the object. So this quality of being ardent, this is one of the quality, mental quality that must accompany every moment when you note the object. So when you practice satipatthana, every moment when you note, this quality of ardent, energetic effort must be present together with the noting mind. So it is one of the mental state, cetasika, that comes together with the noting mind. And this ardent effort is directed in each moment in order to establish the noting mind firmly on the object. So each moment when you note this ardent effort, you direct it in order to establish the noting mind firmly on the object. So when you're not rising, so you make efforts so that the noting mind is firmly established on the rising. When you're not falling, you have to make sure with ardent effort, make sure that the noting mind is firmly established on the falling, and so on. So this quality of establishing, this is sati, mindfulness. Okay? So when the mindfulness, through ardent effort, mindfulness able to establish the noting mind firmly, repeatedly, in each moment of noting. So every moment you note an object, the mind established firmly. Next moment you note again, it established firmly. You note again, it established firmly each time on the respective object that is being noted. You make effort in this way. Okay? So gradually, the strength of the noting mind develops. Okay? So the jhana factors, vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekagata, and the jhana factors that accompany the noting mind become stronger and stronger and stronger. As they become stronger, they begin to counter the hindrances, suppress them. So this is called vikambana vinaya, overcoming the covetousness or grief, temporary, by suppressing them with the jhana factors. So as the hindrances are being continuously suppressed by the jhana factors that are developing due to continuity of mindfulness, so the hindrances becomes weaker and weaker and weaker. And as the hindrances become weaker and weaker, you find that the noting mind also becomes less and less distracted. So it is able to settle it down and remain fixed on the object. Okay? So this is samadhi, concentration. The samadhi allows the mind to settle down in each moment, because samadhi clears away the hindrances. Okay, so when there's nothing, when the hindrances has been cleared away, there's nothing to disturb the mind, nothing to distract the mind. Okay, so therefore the noting mind at each moment when you know is able to settle into the object that is being noted. And when the noting mind is able to settle down, this gives it the opportunity to explore into the nature of the object that is being noted. Okay? So with the hindrances present, the mind cannot settle in. It keeps being distracted, disturbed. So therefore it cannot explore clearly the nature of the object. But once samadhi is established, then the mind has this opportunity to explore into the nature of the object that is noted. And this gives rise to clear discernment of the nature of the object, sampajanya, clear comprehension. So it means you clearly comprehend the nature of sabbhava lakkhana, the unique characteristic of various mental, physical nature. And the sankhata lakkhana, the conditioned nature, arising, presence, disappearance. And also samaṇera lakkhana, the nature of anicca, dukkha, anatta. So, and through this insight into impermanent suffering and non-self, let's give rise to tadanga pahana. So the momentary overcoming of covetousness and grief, or the hindrances. Okay? By substituting it with insight. So through the method of anupassana, satipatthana, anupassana, the mind is purified. The noting mind is purified by means of tadanga vinaya. That means through substituting it with insight, substituting the defilements with insight. Right? So this is the momentary purification. And also through vikambana vinaya. That means purifying by suppression with samadhi or the jhana factors. So this is the temporary purification of the mind. Okay, so when you practice anupassana properly, the mind is purified in these two ways. Purified from covetousness and grief, or the hindrances. Okay? So when the mind is pure, free from covetousness and grief, the mind does not relate with covetousness and grief with regards to the object that is noted. So no covetousness means no attachment, no greed, no desire, no likes. Then no grief means no aversion, no ill will, no dislikes. Okay? So therefore the mind does not relate to the object with likes and dislikes. You neither like the object nor do you dislike it. So that means there is this stability in the mind, this equanimity in the mind towards the object. There's no likes and dislikes. So because of this equanimity, this state of balance of mind, so the mind is able to note the object in a detached manner. Okay, so so often yogis feel there is like a space between the noting and the object, right? That as if the object does not touch the mind, but you know the object, but it does not touch the mind. So you become detached from it. So the mind does not get involved with the object. It does not have any preference of how it wants the object to be. I want the object to be like this, I don't want it to be like that. The mind doesn't have this. There's no likes and dislikes. So it doesn't have any preference with regards to the object. Without covetousness and grief, it doesn't have any preference. So it simply allows the object to be as it is. It doesn't try to control it in any way. So it simply let it be. Simply let the object be. Allow it to be as it is. And simply note the object in the moment as it is. And when the object disappears, the noting mind simply move on to the next prominent object. It does not hold on to the object and obsess about the object with likes and dislikes. So the noting mind is able to move freely and easily from one object to the next. It has this agility, this swiftness, because it doesn't hold on. So it keeps noting one after another without holding on, without getting involved in any other object that is noted. So because it does not have any preference how the object should be, so the mind is able to accept the object as it is and discern its nature as it is. So this helps with clear comprehension. This helps to gradually deepen the insight into the nature of the object. That's why when we practice, we must purify the mind first. So only with this purity of mind, when we note, then we can note in a detached way, in an equanimous way, not having any likes and dislikes. Then you can see the object clearly as it is. Okay? It's a purity of mind. Citta Visuddhi comes before all the insights. So that's why when you meditate, you must make sure you meditate with a pure mind, with a wholesome mind, not with an unwholesome mind. That's why one of the skills of the yogis is that you must be able to recognize what is wholesome, what is unwholesome. Recognize means not reading from books. It means you can feel it in your mind. When wholesome state of mind arises, you know what is the feature, what is the quality of the wholesome mind, which as we described the other time, clarity, softness, peacefulness. Right? Basically, actually there are many more qualities of the wholesome mind, but basically you can tell the mind is soft, is peaceful, is clear, that is wholesome. So otherwise it's unwholesome. When you find that your mind is very hard, very rigid, when it is agitated, when it is not clear, you know something is wrong in the mind. There's some unwholesome state in the mind. The yogi must be able to recognize. You cannot recognize the unwholesome state arise, you keep meditating, then you are developing unwholesome mental state. Your bhavana means akusala bhavana, not kusala bhavana. So in Buddhist meditation is kusala bhavana. Developing kusala, not developing akusala. So that's why a yogi must be able to recognize, differentiate wholesome and unwholesome state of mind. And how do you differentiate? Sati, mindfulness. Mindfulness helps us to differentiate. Mindfulness and clear comprehension helps us to differentiate what is wholesome, what is unwholesome. Mm. Mm. So the purpose of the Satipatthana instruction is to gradually clear away the hindrances. So in order for the mind to be clear enough to develop this clear insight into the nature of the Nama Rupa, the clear insights that finally will lead to liberation from dukkha. The clear insight that gives the mind the strength to let go of the cause of suffering and therefore experience the cessation of suffering. Okay? So this is the purpose of Satipatthana, which is given at the beginning of the opening to the Satipatthana, Sattana, Visuddhiya, Soka Paridevana, Samatikamaya, and so on, for the purification of beings, or the mind of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for the attainment of the noble path, and for the realization of Nibbana. Okay? So this is the purpose why we practice Satipatthana. And the way to achieve this purpose is through this basic instruction. Applying this basic instruction of Satipatthana to gradually clear away the hindrances and then to develop clear insight into the nature of the Nama Rupa. So you can see that actually the purpose is, the immediate purpose of this practice is to develop insight or sampajanya, clear comprehension into nature of Nama Rupa. Okay? So, but if this is the case, then why did the Buddha call this Satipatthana? Why Satipatthana means the firmly established mindfulness. Right? Why call this practice the practice of the firm establishment of mindfulness? Why not call it the firm establishment of clear comprehension? We call it Satipatthana in order to emphasize the importance of sati, mindfulness, for the development of insight. Okay? So, because mindfulness, by repeatedly establishing the mind firmly on each object that occur, it gradually leads to the development of samadhi, concentration. And then from there, from samadhi, it leads to the development of insight, or clear comprehension. So it all begins with sati, with mindfulness. It is mindfulness that opens up the door to the development of insight. Okay? So in our practice also, we simply direct our effort in order to develop mindfulness. That's where we direct our effort towards, to develop mindfulness. We make effort in order to bring up mindfulness and then to direct the mindfulness onto the Satipatthana object, body, feeling, consciousness, and the Dhammas, or basically the Nama Rupa. Okay? And so once we make effort in this way to direct mindfulness towards this Nama Rupa objects, and then everything else falls in place by itself. Gradually it will fall in place. Insight will develop gradually. Okay? So you don't have to make effort to develop concentration. You don't have to make effort to develop insight. You just make effort to be mindful every moment. Make sure you are really mindful, not just casually being aware, superficially, but really be mindful. Remember, mindfulness is not a superficial awareness. It's observing the object so carefully as if it's sinking into the object, that type of awareness. So all you have to do is in every moment An object arises, be mindful of it, be mindful, know it clearly, know it clearly. And everything else will fall into place. Samadhi will come, sampajanya will come. Yeah. So it all begins with mindfulness. So that's why it's called satipatthana. Okay. But for it to be satipatthana also, the mindfulness must be directed towards the right object, towards the body, feeling, consciousness, and the dhammas, the nama rupa. Because if you direct it to any other object, for example, you direct it to kasina, and samadhi will develop, but not sampajanya, not the clear comprehension that discerns the nature of nama rupa. So that's why in the Satipatthana instruction, the Buddha specifically mentioned these four objects: this body, feeling, consciousness, and the Dhamma. Okay? So only by directing the mindfulness to contemplate these four objects, then the insight, sampajanya, clear comprehension, will arise. Okay, now, for just as extra knowledge for those with Abhidhamma knowledge. So, yeah, for those without Abhidhamma knowledge, so you may not understand what we are saying here. So, but it's, maybe if you listen, you may learn something about Abhidhamma. So, and then maybe you'll be interested enough to pick up Abhidhamma. In which case, I would advise you to only pick up Abhidhamma after you have practiced to your heart's content. So, okay, so now, so when we are practicing Satipatthana, with what citta are we practicing with? So there are 89 cittas, right? You still remember? Students from the Abhidhamma class still remember? So many months you have no class already. So 89 cittas. So what is the consciousness, the cittas that we meditate with? Okay? So talk about Vipassana Yanika yogi, not the Samatha Yanika yogi. So when you practice Satipatthana, out of the 89, what citta do you practice with? So let's look at it systematically. So 89 cittas, there is kusala cittas, there are akusala cittas, and then there's the abhyagata, right? The indeterminate. Indeterminate, there is vipaka, and then there's kiriya, right? The vipaka is the resultant, result of karma. Kusala, akusala, they are karmic producing citta, right? So, but vipaka citta means you simply experience. With this citta, you experience the result of past karma. Okay? So there are cittas that produce karma, there are cittas that experience the result of karma. Okay? Then there's kiriya cittas, functional citta, which neither produce karma, accumulate karma, nor experience karma. They simply perform a function, right? So when you practice, with what citta do you practice with? You can answer. Your mic, you can turn on. Okay, let's take it systematically. Akusala citta. 12 akusala citta. So 8 lobha mula, greed-rooted citta, 8, 2 dosa mula citta, hatred rooted, and then 2 moha mula citta. Do you practice with this 12 akusala citta? Yeah, we just give the answer just now. You're supposed to practice with a pure mind, right? Yeah. So definitely, because we are not doing akusala bhavana. So it rules out the 12 akusala citta. So leave us with the kusala and the abhyakata. Okay, let's look at the abhyakata. So vipaka citta. Do you practice with vipaka citta? Because meditation is active. Vipaka citta is passive. You are simply experiencing result of past karma. So you don't practice with vipaka citta. So actually, it's karmic citta, right? So you don't practice with vipaka citta. So that rules out all the vipaka citta. All the under ahetuka, there are the 15 vipaka citta, both kusala vipaka, akusala vipaka. You rule that out. Then you also rule out the kamavachara, sahetuka, kamavachara vipaka, or the eight mahavipaka citta. Those you rule out. You don't practice with those. You also rule out what? Rupavachara, arupavachara vipaka. 5 and the 4. Rule out. Also palacitta. Palacitta also vipaka. Right? So that also rule out. We don't practice with vipaka citta. Okay. So kriya citta. You put aside kriya citta first. Talk about the kusala citta. Do you practice the kusala citta? Yes, of course, you practice the kusala citta. Yes, it's kusala bhavana. You're developing kusala, so you must practice with kusala citta, wholesome citta. But there are so many kinds of kusala citta. Which one? So, do you practice with the rupa vachara kusala and arupa vachara kusala? The fine material sphere and the immaterial sphere citta, kusala citta. That one, unless you follow samatha yanika. So at the beginning, when you are developing the jhanas, then you might involve the rupa vachara, arupa vachara, kusala citta. For Vipassana yanika, we don't practice with that. Okay, so then the kusala citta. Also, magga citta. Magga citta is also kusala citta. You practice in magga citta. So, no, you don't practice with magga citta. Because magga citta actually is supposed to be the goal of your practice, right? Nyayasa adhikamaya, for the attainment of the noble path. That is one of the purpose of satipatthana, practice of satipatthana. So you practice in order to arrive at the experience of the magga citta. Okay, so but while you are practicing, you don't practice with magga citta. Magga citta is like it arises as a result of your practice. When the insight is developed and fully mature, then magga citta arise. Right? So you don't practice with magga citta. So what does that leave you with? I think when I don't show you all the chart, okay. Say again.
38.
Huh?
31 to 38. Sorry.
What are they? They are the Mahakusala Citta, right? Kama Vachara Kusala Citta. So the wholesome citta pertaining to the sense sphere. Okay, so sense sphere, wholesome citta. You practice with this citta, but among there are 8, right, of this Mahakusala citta. So among these 8, which one do you practice with? Give you a hint.
With knowledge. The Mahakusala with knowledge.
Okay, good. Yes. So it must be jnana sampayutta, associated with knowledge. Why? Because sampajanya, clear comprehension, must accompany that noting mind. So that noting mind comes with knowledge. So jnana sampayutta. Okay, so when you practice satipatthana, when you practice with this 4 jnana sampayutta, mahakusala citta. Okay. So, but of course, in the beginning, I practice even the jnana vipayutta without knowledge. The 4 without knowledge is also possible, because in the beginning, your mind is not that clear yet, no clear comprehension yet. But as the practice develops, you begin to discern the object clearly, then only the jnana sampayutta, the wholesome mind associated with knowledge arises. Okay? Yeah. So when you practice with these 4. Kama vachara, kusala citta, that is associated with knowledge. Okay? So, but for the arahants, it's different, right? For arahants, you practice with the mahakiriya. So, in the case of arahant, it's only jnana sampayutta, always jnana sampayutta, associated with knowledge. Because arahants do not practice with a wholesome mind, they practice with a functional mind. Because their mind, they do not accumulate karma anymore. Okay? So wholesome mind, you will accumulate karma. But for arahants, whatever actions they perform, it does not constitute karma. Okay? It's just a mere action, just a function. So it's called the functional consciousness, but associated with knowledge. Okay? Yeah. So, and if the arahants were to practice samatha yanika way, in the beginning also, there's the rupa vachara kiriya, arupa vachara kiriya also. Okay, but when they switch to vipassana, then only the mahakiriya that is associated with knowledge. Yeah. So if a yogi were to follow the samatha yanika way, so and practice satipatthana. So like for example, I take the object anapana. So in the Satipatthana Sutta, Buddha mentioned anapana. So this one you can follow it as a samatha object or a vipassana object. If you take it as a samatha object, then So that means you follow samatha yanika way. First you develop jhana using the breath. Okay? So when you develop jhana, then you experience either rupa vachara, kusala, citta, or if you are arahant, then rupa vachara, kriya, functional consciousness. Okay? So anapana, or when you contemplate the parts of the body, the head, hair, body hair, and so on. This object can also give rise to the first jhana. So if you take it as a samatha object, then you can experience rupa vachara, the first rupa vachara kusala citta. Or in the case of arahant, the first rupa vachara kriya citta. Okay. But when the samatha yanika yogis switch to the development of vipassana, when they withdraw from the jhana, then they switch to develop vipassana, then they practice with the four mahakusala citta associated with knowledge. Or in the case of the arahants, the four mahakriya citta associated with knowledge. Okay? This is just extra knowledge for those who have some abhidhamma knowledge. Okay? So if you don't understand what we are talking about, if you are blur, it's okay. This is not really important when it comes to the practice. Just extra knowledge. So this is analysis in terms of citta. What about cetasikas? The mental states. So there are these four, you practice with these four mahakusala citta associated with knowledge. So what are the cetasikas, mental states, that can associate with these four cittas? So that means these four cittas is the noting mind, okay, or the knowing mind, okay. So one of these four can serve as your noting, knowing mind. So, so what are the cetasikas associated with them? So according to the Abhidhamma analysis, so each of these four mahakusala or mahakriya citta that are associated with knowledge, each of them can be accompanied by more than 30 different mental states, 30 different cetasikas. So Abhidhamma analysis is always very thorough, very complete. So more than 30 over cetasikas or mental states can associate with your in the noting mind. Okay? But in the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha, of course, did not mention all of them. So he only mentioned the most important ones. Okay? So this is given as Atapi Sampajano Satima, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful. So the three qualities, the three mental states. Ardent means ardent energetic effort, means energy, virya. So this is one cetasika, virya, one mental states that accompany or associate together, it arise together with the noting mind. Okay. Atapi and sampajano. Sampajano means clear comprehension. So this means panya or panindriya, the mental state of wisdom or the faculty of wisdom. Okay, so this is another mental states that arise together in a noting mind, associate with it. Okay? This is clear comprehension. And then satima, of course, mindfulness. Mindfulness, of course, because this is the practice of satipatthana, right? So without sati, there is no satipatthana. So mindfulness must always accompany every moment of noting. So these three mental states, these three cetasikas, virya, panya, and sati, energy, wisdom, and mindfulness. These three are mentioned directly in the Satipatthana Sutta. Buddha mentioned them directly. Okay? Then what else are there? Samadhi, ekagata. Samadhi basically means ekagata, one-pointedness of mind. It is another mental factor or mental states. So samadhi is implied when the Buddha says overcoming covetousness and grief with regards to the world. Okay, so ekagata or samadhi is also present. Okay, so and this is implied in the Satipatthana instruction. Now, and the fact that the yogi is practicing Satipatthana, that means there is also saddha, faith, right? So if you don't have faith, you won't practice. You don't have faith, even if I drag you to the meditation center, you will run back home. So the fact that you are practicing, making effort to come and practice, go through all the trouble of practicing, because it's not easy to practice. That means you have some faith, saddha. And this saddha is supporting you every moment when you note. There's this saddha in the mind. This faith is in the noting mind, is supporting the noting mind. Sometimes you can see when this faith is weak, then the noting mind has no power. So when the faith is very, very strong, you see a yogi who is very strong faith. When they practice, noting mind has a lot of power. Can note continuously, relentlessly, doesn't matter what happened. Pain or pain come, pain here, pain there, doesn't matter. Rain or shine, hot or cold, mosquito or flies. They continue noting. Sleepy or not sleepy, they continue noting. Very strong faith. So altogether, so far, how many? There's 5. 5. So there's faith. And there is saddha, then there is virya, then there is sati, then there is samadhi, and then panya. So saddha, faith. Because of saddha, the yogi puts in effort to practice. So there's virya arise. Virya is directed towards what? To bring up mindfulness. To be mindful of the object. So sati arises. And through the continuity of sati, what arises? Samadhi arises. Concentration arises. And when samadhi is established, then panya arises. So one leads to another. So there is a conditional relationship. So these 5 constitute the 5 cetasika, mental factor that, which when well developed, they become what we call the indriyas, the controlling faculties, the 5 mental controlling faculties. So called because when they are well developed, they exercise control over the mind. So when we practice Satipatthana, we are not just practicing the 4 Satipatthana. We are also developing the 5 indriyas, the 5 controlling faculties. Right? And it is important to control the mind. when we practice meditation. Otherwise, the mind will not stay on track of the practice. You have no control over the mind. It will not stay on track of the practice. You may go out of control. Too much energy, you go xiao. So important to control the mind. Okay, and then also control it in order to continuously direct it towards the work of noting and gradually guide it towards the experience of cessation. See? So for all this you need to control the mind. That's why you need to develop the indriyas. But it is not just important to develop the indriyas. You must also balance these indriyas, these controlling faculties. They must be balanced. Okay, so usually we say saddha, faith, and panya, wisdom, must be balanced. Okay? Virya and samadhi, energy and concentration also must be balanced. So, and in the practice, particularly important is the balance between virya and samadhi, energy and concentration. Okay? So yogi, this is one of the skills of meditation that yogi must develop, balancing of the mind, balancing of these controlling faculties. Okay? Otherwise you lose control of the mind. If it's too much concentration or not enough energy is okay. The worst that can happen is that you fall asleep. That's also losing control of the mind. Right? The sleepiness or the laziness overwhelm the mind. But if it's like too much energy, not enough concentration, or the mind becomes restlessly out of control, then it can become dangerous. So that's why important to develop the skill of balancing. So that's why mindfulness is important. Mindfulness is never enough. The other four, there's faith and wisdom, it must be balanced. Not too much, not too little. They must balance each other. Same with this energy and concentration. Okay? But mindfulness is never enough. The more the better. It's mindfulness that keeps them balanced. Okay? Because mindfulness, when you're mindful, you're aware. You know when the mind is balanced. You know when it's imbalanced. You know what is balanced, what is imbalanced. Only when you know, and then you can take steps to adjust. This is a skill of balancing. Okay? So, so balancing between virya and samadhi is particularly important in the practice. So when these two are balanced, you find that there's just the right degree of samadhi, concentration, to allow the mind to settle onto the object and remain steady on the object. Okay? And there's just the right degree of effort to exert the mind in order to continuously explore the nature of the object. Okay? So when these two occur in just the right degree, so the mind is able to continuously remain still on the object and continuously explore into the nature of the object. And then the discernment of the object becomes sharp and clear. So the noting mind, when it's well balanced, is able to penetrate into the nature of the object clearly. Okay? So, because it's just precisely on the object. Because it's well balanced, so it's precisely on the object. It's just like when you aim a gun at a target. So first you must have just enough composure to hold the mind steady. You don't have enough composure, you hold the mind, your hand shaking. So, if you are too composed, too calm, you just hold the mind there and then you don't pull the trigger. So you must just right composure, to hold it steady, to aim it, and then just enough exertion to pull the trigger without shaking the gun. You pull too hard, you shake the gun, and then you cannot hit the target. So when these two is well balanced, just the right degree of composure, just the right degree of exertion to pull the trigger, then the bullet hits the target precisely. The same with the noting mind. Okay? So when the mind is not enough concentration, it becomes distracted. It cannot remain still on the object. So it cannot hit the object clearly. Okay? Too much concentration, too still, not doing any work, just resting there. So again, you cannot hit the object precisely. Too much energy, restless. Too little energy, lazy. The noting mind doesn't work. So again, doesn't hit the object. But when these two is just right, then it hits the object precisely. So you can discern, it can penetrate into the object and discern its nature clearly. Okay? But there are also other cetasikas, other mental states that are implied by the Satipatthana instruction. So, for example, vitaka, it is implied when the Buddha says you must not precisely, not the body in the body, feeling in the feeling, and so on. So the precision of noting, it requires vitaka, to aim precisely on the object. Then vichara, in a way, it is implied by anupassana, because you have to note continuously, moment after moment after moment, sustaining the attention continuously on the object. Okay? So vichara, sustained application of mind, is also implied by anupassana. And of course, when you meditate, you must have attention, right? Manasikara. There must be well-directed attention on the object. So manasikara, also another cetasika that is present. Then you must have the willpower to note. Right? So without willpower, you cannot note. So cetana, the willpower, also present when you meditate. And because when you are noting the object, you are actually experiencing object, right? So when you are experiencing object, there's also phassa, contact, another cetasika, contacting the mind, contacting with the object. That is also present. Vedana is also present. Whenever you experience the object, Vedana is always present. You either feel the object is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. In fact, Vedana is also mentioned in the instruction as one of the object of contemplation. So that is also present. And since you note with a wholesome mind, right? It's a wholesome citta. So the noting mind is wholesome. So therefore, there is also this other cetasika, like hiri and ottappa. So this moral shame, moral fear, also present when you are noting. That's why when you are noting, the mind is well restrained. When you're noting, there's no inclination in the mind at all to kill, to steal, and so on, right? Do you have such inclination? So there's hiri ottappa also present. Yes. So, and then because the wholesome mind, there's also alobha, adosa, non-greed, non-hatred, which non-greed is basically means detachment. When you note that's detachment. So, and non-hatred, that means the mind is kind of soft, is gentle. Not like hatred. Hatred is very violent, vicious. So the mind, the noting mind is very soft, gentle. So alobha, dosa also, you see, correspond when the Buddha says overcoming covetousness and grief. Right? Covetousness is what? Is lobha, is greed, is attachment, is desire, sensual desire. Grief is dosa. So when these two are overcome, then there is non-covetousness, non-grief. That means alobha, adosa. These two are present. Excuse me. So, and then with the wholesome mind also comes this quality called tattramajatata, the neutrality of mind, or the state of balance of mind. This is actually like equanimity. So this is also present. But it may not be clear in the beginning. But when the noting mind is well developed, when covetousness and grief has been well abandoned, well overcome, then this quality of balance of mind becomes clear. Because there's no likes, no dislikes. Without covetousness, without grief, there's no likes, no dislikes. So this quality of equanimity, of tattramajatata, neutrality or balance of mind becomes clear. Then as this wholesome noting mind becomes more and more well developed, some of these other wholesome or beautiful sobhana, beautiful qualities of mind also can be clearly experienced when you note quality of passaddhi, tranquility of mind or quietness of mind. Because the mind is freed from disturbances, from the hindrances, so it becomes tranquil, nothing to disturb it. So it becomes tranquil and become quiet, passaddhi. So kaya passaddhi, chitta passaddhi, tranquility of the mental factors, tranquility of the chitta, the consciousness. Okay? And then there's the quality of lahuta, lightness. The mind becomes very light. Both the mental states, cetasika, as well as the chitta, becomes very light. The whole mind becomes very energetic and moves lightly and swiftly from one noting to another easily. So this quality of lahuta, lightness of mind, or swiftness of mind, can be experienced clearly. Okay? Then mudutta, softness of mind, kaya mudutta, chitta mudutta, softness of the mental states, softness of the consciousness. So the whole mind becomes soft, flexible, adaptable. So not hard, not rigid. And then kamanyata, so easy to work with, workability. So this again, kaya kamanyata, chitta kamanyata. So the workability, or you can say wieldiness of the mental state, wieldiness of the chitta, the consciousness, it becomes easy to work with. Whatever you want it to do, you can do. You want it to note this object, it notes this object. You want it to stay with it stays with it. Easy to work with. So when the noting mind is well developed, you can see this quality in the noting mind. So, and then pagunyata, healthiness. So kaya pagunyata, chitta pagunyata. Healthiness of the mental states and the chitta. So healthy means just like a healthy person is capable and strong, can do things. When you're sick, you're incapable of doing anything. You're weak. But when the mind is healthy, it is strong, it's capable. Like a healthy person. You feel the mind is very healthy when the noting mind is well developed. So, and then ujukata, straightness, uprightness of the mind. Kaya ujukata, chitta ujukata. That of the mental states as well as the chitta. So the mind becomes perfectly straight. That means honest and truthful, not deceitful. So the mind does not give all kinds of excuses not to do the practice. So, so all these various mental states arises and accompany each moment of noting mind. Okay? So yogi can actually experience this in your noting. So, but in the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha only mentioned 3 of them directly. Atapi sampajano satima. Okay? It means ardent energetic effort, clear comprehension, panya, and sati, mindfulness. Okay? So, but when you analyze it according to Abhidhamma, there can be all these 30 over cetasikas. So this is the basic Satipatthana instruction. Okay? So it's most important in order to understand this basic instruction. When you practice Satipatthana, you must understand this basic instruction clearly. Okay? Once you understand this clearly, you have a clear grasp of what this instruction is all about. Then it's a matter of just applying this basic instruction to note your object of meditation, whether it's rising, falling, or sitting, touching, or the walking process, the steps in a walking meditation, or if it's anapana, and so on. It's a matter of applying this basic instruction. Okay? Yeah. So we have spent considerable time explaining this basic instruction, so that once you understand it, then later you can apply it in your practice. But one thing to bear in mind is that I've been giving this explanation. It's given mostly, this explanation that we have been giving is mostly according to the way of practice of the Vipassana Yana, the way of direct Vipassana. Because this is what we practice and this is what we are guiding the yogis. Okay? So, but this does not mean that if you follow the Samatha Yana way, that you are not practicing, and you are not practicing as we describe it, that it does not mean that you are practicing wrongly. Okay? Because Samatha Yana, they have those who follow Samatha Yana way, they have a slightly different way of practice. Okay? The basic instruction, basic Satipatthana instruction is the same. It's just that the way, the application is slightly different. Yeah? So don't go about telling those of your friends who are practicing Samatha Yana way, oh, you are practicing wrongly. No. They have their way of applying the Satipatthana instruction. But what is important is that finally, regardless of whether you follow the Samatha Yana or whether you follow Vipassana Yana, you all must finally arrive at the development of insight. that leads to liberation. That is the most crucial, important thing. Because without Vipassana, there's no liberation from suffering. Okay? So practice of Satipatthana is basically to develop insight that leads to liberation. So whether you follow the direct Vipassana way or you take the alternate Samatha Jhana way, where you develop the Samatha Jhana first, then only switch to Vipassana, regardless, you must finally end up with the development of insight. Okay? Yeah. So after you know the basic instruction, then it's just a matter of applying the basic instruction to the various objects. So in the Satipatthana Sutta, after giving the basic instruction, the Buddha began to apply this basic instruction on the various meditation subjects. So under Kaya Nupassana, there are altogether 14 different subjects of meditation. And Vedana Nupassana, Citta Nupassana are considered, each of them are considered one kind of subject of meditation. And then under Dhamma Nupassana, there are altogether 5 subjects of meditation. Altogether 21 subject of Satipatthana meditation. So you apply this basic instruction when you practice this 21 subject of meditation. Okay. So in the next Dhamma talk, we will begin to take a look at this subject of meditation, Satipatthana subject of meditation, beginning from Anapanasati. Okay? So we stop here today. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Buddham Pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Dhammam Pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Sangham Pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Mata Pitunam Pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Acariyanam Pujemi. Ada imaya Patipadaya Jaram Ranamha Rimocesami. Idame punyam Asawakaya Vaham Hotu. Idame punyam Nibbanasa Pacayo Hotu. Idame silam Magaphalanyanasa Pacayo Hotu. Imam no Punya Bhagam Sabbasatanam Dema. Imam no Punya Bhagam Sabbasatanam Dema. Imam no Punya Bhagam Sabbasatanam Dema. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And so may all of you be well, happy and peaceful always. May all of you be healthy, be safe, be strong. And may you all be able to practice Dhamma continuously, without any obstacle, without any hindrances. May your practice always be smooth, and may you soon be able to experience the unconditioned peace of Nibbana through your practice of the Dhamma.